G'day, Benny Wellington here, and thank you for joining me. I will be speaking in my best radio voice today to share the Frothy Goal workshop, how to turn the I'll get to it tomorrow goals into a wildly successful life. Just like to start out by acknowledging the Kombumerri people, the First Nations folks of the land I'm recording this on. I'm very grateful that I get to live on an organic farm up the hill here in Currumbin Valley, and I acknowledge the elders past and present and the folks who are still maintaining this place and keeping it beautiful, and acknowledge all the plants, animals, and of course the ocean, my favorite place. Very proud of it taking 35 years to grow a full beard and standing in front of a Celtic stone circle. I'm a peak performance coach with the Flow Genome Project. You can check them out if you need credentials. They work with the best of the best. I'm infatuated with flow states, and that's kind of how I found those guys. And I'm also a workshop facilitator. I've done workshops for the likes of Google, Adobe, the government, universities, small businesses, medium-sized businesses all around the world. And I'm a vice optimist. This is my jam. This is my purpose, is to share what I believe is a really potent way to look at how we interact with different habits of ours. You might have heard the term vice used in a negative light for things like food, alcohol, how we use our phones. So I'm a vice optimist. And the way I look at those things is, how do we turn them into something positive for our lives? And here's a picture of me when I had much thicker hair, delivering a workshop on an island in Croatia to a bunch of people about my vice optimism and vice optimization. So I have no idea where you have dialed into this because it's in the ethereal internet right now. But I'll start with a tranquilo breath. Tranquilo means calm down, chill out in Spanish. It's also got that tranquil word in it, so I love it. And all it is a simple inhale through the nose. So I invite you to empty your lungs and do a big inhale through the nose, down into the belly, up into the shoulders, into the head if you like, and a short hold. And then I want you to exhale through pursed lips, super slow. It's like the slowest exhale you could possibly ever do. You might surprise yourself. And if you need to, I invite you to do this as many times as you like, so feel free to pause. But if you're ready to rip, ready to rock and roll, we shall continue. Have you ever said, I'll get to it tomorrow, or I'm going to get to that next year, or when I'm 30, I'll do that, or when I'm 40, or when I'm 50, but you know you might get there and you actually won't do it? I've done that many times. Maybe you said, I can't do it because it's too hard, or I'd never be able to do that. You know, you look at other people and you go, I could never do that. I could never do that. Well, this workshop is all about how do we do this stuff. And I came across this fellow named Stephen Duneier. This is him doing a TED Talk. That gives you credibility, right? And the first thing he said in the TED Talk was, and I think it's from 2018, it's had about 12 million views. I still can't concentrate for 5 minutes and I've been wildly successful. Okay, got my attention, Steve. What he uses is something he calls as marginal adjustments. So like micro adjustments. And he uses the example, which I'm going to show you in a moment, of a grey pixel to make a magnificent portrait. So there's a fellow named Chuck Close, and this is how he created art. And so what Steve says is, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling him Steve, if he does, sorry Steve, that we can create amazing things if we can just break it down to a small chunk. You might have heard James Clear, who's become quite famous lately. He's a legend in the habit game. Talk about atomic habits. So what are the small chunks? And then here's a little bit of Chuck's work. And you kind of get a little bit more elaborate. That's Chuck himself, a self-portrait. He recently passed away, so sending good vibes to Chuck, and thanks for all of your efforts. So originally he made these adjustments to his schooling because he was about a C grade kid, he said. And once he figured that out, he was able to apply it to his university, and he ended up coming top of his university. And then to his work, he became a hedge fund manager and managing billions of dollars. And then he started doing it to his hobbies, which is really cool. So things like learning to speak German or learning to knit to set a Guinness World Record, which I'll show you in a moment. But I'd like to start here because I bet this is one that most of us would have had a goal at some point. And Stephen's goal was to lose 25 pounds, which is about 11 kilos. And that's boring. So initially, if you were going to lose a bit of weight, you'd probably be thinking about diets and gym and all that stuff. It's a bit boring. So what he decided to do was to climb 33 trails in the front country of Santa Barbara. So that was his frothy goal. So he went from a boring goal of lose 25 pounds to a frothy goal, something that was inspiring, something that he could tick off as he went. And the results for him were that he finished the 33 trails. Then he went and did it again. And then he did some backcountry trails. And then he did the hardest half marathon in the world. So you can see these bonus things after he'd done the 33 trails. Looks like super fit dude. So the boring goal again, lose 25 pounds. The frothy goal, climb 33 trails. The results, he finished the 33 trails. So yeah, that's great. But the bonus was the 33 again, a couple in the backcountry, and the pier to peak. Awesome. So if we break down the 33 trails, the grey square is tie your shoes and drive to the trail. Pretty simple, right? And I'm sure there's added excitement in that, like mapping the trails. There'd be the achievement of finishing, the positive endorphins we get from that kind of stuff and achievement. The cool thing is that he'd never hiked before. So you've got to take that into consideration, even though hiking is just fancy walking around. Cool. So if we apply that to the one I mentioned before, his boring goal was to learn German. If we all tried to learn a language, I've had a crack at Spanish multiple times. His frothy goal was to have a conversation in German with Germans in Germany in front of his young family. Like, feel that. Just sit and feel what that would be like. His results were that he took them to Germany, didn't tell them anything, and he essentially spoke German in front of Germans. And the bonus was that it inspired him to rock climb, skydive, and learn to fly a helicopter. So there's no way that when he set out to learn German that he was going to have the space and energy and froth to roll on with these other hobbies. And what was the little grey square? To delete the music of his iPod and add German tapes. I'm probably showing my age there. I think they were CDs. But anyway, back in the days when iPods weren't always connected to the internet, you had to download your music onto your iPod. And essentially every day when he walked to and from work across the park in London, he would listen to his German tapes until he finished them. And then that led him to go to Germany and do an intensive German course before he did, the frothy goal. So awesome. So for me, and my journey was to cut back on drinking. I'd said it a million times. Have you said that before? So what I did was I needed a frothy goal. So I gamified my drinking. And at the same time, I had this charity football project I had to deliver. So there was a motivator. And I wanted to tell people about the charity football project because it was a Premier League club. So it's a big deal. So the results were to cut back on my drinking, and I nailed the football project. It was awesome. But the bonus, and this is the coolest part, what one of my teachers, Christine McDougall, would call procession, which is a processional effect, is that I saved $8,000, got in the best shape of my life, traveled Europe, and inspired friends and family to join me. And if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be recording this workshop today. Pretty good processional effect. So the cut back on drinking, the grey square was every time I drank, I spent a token. And I only had a certain amount of tokens. I had 101 over the space of a year. And that's how I did it. So the 4 steps. And now we're going to practice. The boring goal. I want you to write down your boring goal. You've got 3 minutes. Put on some tunes. And then when you're done, you can skip ahead or wait for the music to finish. If nothing's coming to you, I invite you to write down a stream of consciousness. So just write down whatever is in your head. Just write it all down. It can be pen and paper. It can be typed in your phone, whatever. And then at the end, just select one. Try and select one that's like really singing to you, because as we saw before, it's not so much about the initial boring goal. It's about the frothy goal and then the bonus. That's where all the gold happens, right? I think that's where the best stuff happens. Yeah, carry on. 3 minutes. Go for it. All right, welcome back. Now we're going to step into the frothy goal. And I want you just to put your boring goal at the top and just ask the question, how can I make this more fun and exciting? That's it. But I don't want you to just do it once. I want you to do it over and over and over again until you feel something. Because when I talk about froth, I'm talking about when we feel excited. For me, that's like going out surfing or having a really great conversation with someone over coffee. Could be for you going to the gym. It could be writing. It could be all these different things that induce a state of like, it might be goosebumps. It might be something subtle. It might be a wry smile. Just something that gets you a little bit frothy, a little bit bubbly, a little bit excited. So I'm going to give you another 3 minutes. Again, if you don't need 3 minutes, you can just skip ahead. But I think with this one, really dive in. Let's try and excavate the gold. The gold in the goal. There you go. So here we go.
Love is what I need.
Final parts are the result. So wherever you've set this goal to be achieved by, this frothy goal, I want you to essentially put in something in a calendar and just say, this is the date I'm going to reflect. I'm going to reflect on the result. I'm going to see if I hit that boring goal, if I hit that frothing goal. And then the really cool thing is what has actually happened as a result of that. And the last little bit about Steve was he'd done all the hobbies in the world pretty much by this stage, and his wife suggested to him, why don't you try knitting? And it was something he'd never really thought about. So he didn't just knit. He discovered something called yarn bombing. And this is where it gets cool, like when you create something where if you start to think about things that are kind of like, yeah, I could just knit something, but how about I cover rocks and other famous places in something that your grandma would make for you? So as crazy as that sounds, he had people from all over the world, I believe, sending him yarn and their tapestries to create a Guinness World Record for the biggest yarn bomb in the world. So there you go. I invite you to think about this. My favorite flow state trigger is novelty. So I think Steve is an advocate for novelty. And so I'd like you to push your thinking a little bit, because whenever we feel a little bit bored, it's usually because we're not finding any kind of flow. And so novelty is a great one. It's a little bit off topic, but it's good to think about. Next time you're bored, just think novelty. What can I do that's novel? And the final question, I bet you can figure out what it's going to be. It's got something to do with grey squares. What's the one small habit I can do to help me realize my frothy goal? So ask yourself that question. Might be tie your shoes, to get in the car, to go and do the hike. One of the community has decided she wants to change her drinking habits. It's usually one of the catalysts for working with me. But she wants to get healthier this year. So it might be like that, lose a certain amount of weight, or it might be get the 6-pack or whatever it is. But that's not frothy. So her frothy goal was to basically swim 1 kilometre in every Sydney rock pool. I don't know if she checked, but there's so many of them. So she might have to do multiple a week. But how cool is that? Rocking up to new rock pools and getting to experience nature, because there's a lot of sea life in rock pools. And if you don't live in Australia, we have some of the most beautiful beaches and rock pools in the world. So that is a frothy goal of the highest order. What's the one small habit I can do to help me realize my frothy goal? Ask yourself that question, write it down, and then commit to it. Let's make it happen. And that's it from me today. If you find out your frothy goal and you want to send it to me, I'd love to hear it. Email benny@101tokens.com. And otherwise, you can visit 101tokens.com if you want to learn more about vice optimization and the community we've got over there. Much love. Cheers.